All right, so I've been wanting to do this video for a while now. This is actually one of the first videos I wanted to do on my channel, but I'm just now getting around to it. So, as you know, if you watch my channel, I love the Descendents. They were one of my favorite bands growing up. Even though I don't really listen to them much anymore, I can't deny the influence they had on me as a kid, especially in high school, and they really just inspired me to get into punk in general. These are the albums I'm going to be ranking today. I took out any EPs, bonus projects, live albums, and compilations. I also won't be touching any all albums either. So without further ado, let's get into it. To start this off, I'm going to be putting Enjoy on the bottom at D tier. Now, I don't think this is their worst album. If there was an E or an F tier on this list, I would probably still keep it at D. I think there is a certain charm to this album. It's literally toilet paper, so you should know what you're going into, but I don't think that excuses the album's quality. The intro to this album, the title track, Enjoy, is a solid intro song. There are some great ballads on here as well, with the best one being Sour Grapes. But unfortunately, it's one of the big offenders of what I think is proto incel culture. Additionally, songs like Orgo 51 and Hurtin' Crew just feel out of place and exist more as filler or just kind of dumb tracks they threw in. I still don't think this is the worst project ever. I would say it's a little worse than mid, but nothing too terrible. I'm going to put this one in the D category. It is definitely the Descendents' worst album. Next album, All is the last album Milo Ackerman would appear on for nearly a decade before going back to school to study biochemistry. And I think this is a solid album. I have some great memories associated with it. There are some classic Descendants songs with a lot of soul on them, like Camage, Coolidge, and even one of my favorite Descendants songs, Clean Sheets. It just might be my nostalgia talking, but I get a warm and comforting feeling from this album. It suffers from the same problems that Enjoy does, just not as bad. There are some filler tracks and just also dumb and goofy songs. But the reason why these are better than Enjoy is because they're a bit more experimental. So I give it kind of a pass on that. I think Iceman and Schizophrenia are good examples of this. This was a solid project, also one of their most underrated albums. With that being said, I'm going to put this in the B tier because there is some bloat and the experimentation just doesn't work in some places. So next up, we're going to go over Everything Sucks. This is the album that revived the Descendants. After an almost 10-year hiatus, they came back with one of their best albums, incorporating a lot of skate and melodic hardcore elements in this kind of 90s era where this was the scene and the way the genre was shifting towards. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 weak songs on this whole project, and that's being critical. The only thing that bothers me about this album is hearing Milo sing about these kind of adolescent-like experiences, like in high school and, talking to girls still as he's pushing 40 or 30. It doesn't take me out of the experience entirely, but the older I get, the more odd it does feel to me. Overall, though, I think this is as perfect as a skate album can get. It's very impressive. They still had the fire, like in the early 80s, and I'm going to put this one in A tier. I think this is their second best album. It's just a very solid project, and I think it encapsulates this skate punk era in the 90s perfectly. Next up is I Don't Want to Grow Up. I think this project is also one of their best. It came out a few years after Milo Goes to College and still retains that classic Descendants edge. There's also a slight departure from the incel vibes, and more songs are geared towards love ballads that are more sweet and wholesome. My World, Silly Girl, and Love This Way are amazing pop punk songs that laid the groundwork for the future Ramones core and bubblegum songs. Here is where they started falling into the trap of just kind of adding more stupid and filler songs. That does weigh down the album a bit, but there's still enough Descendants to give you that warm and charismatic feeling. I'm going to put this one in A tier. I think the worst song on this project is Theme, just because it didn't need to be here. I don't even think it's a bad song, but it just kind of throws the album off a little bit. So the next album is Hypercaffium Spazzinate. This is the first Descendants album that came out when I was actually into them, and I think for a band that was pushing 50 at the time, this is a great album. It's their most underrated project, and I understand this album is poppier and more polished than their earlier work, but the structure and technical playing in these songs is some of their best in their catalog. I also like how their lyrics have evolved into a more structured and competent style. Yes, I think the brash, harsh, and crass lyrics of their older albums are fun and iconic, but they talk a lot more political and social commentary that I think is pretty insightful and well done for this project. It could just be the nostalgia talking, but most of these songs are pretty good. I think the worst songs on here are at least a 5 out of 10. My personal favorites are Shameless Halo, Thinkin', and Fighting Myself. With all that being said, it is a little longer. Some bonus tracks do weigh it down. I'm going to put it in the B, but I still love giving this album some love, even today. All right. Now we're getting closer to the end. I'm actually going to put Ninth and Walnut up here. I'm going to put it in the, if I could, I would put it between A and B, but I'm going to put it in A just because I give it a little slack because it's an archival. I've only listened to it once, and I didn't even know it was an archival when I first heard it, but I do plan to revisit this. I thought it was great on my first listen. I really enjoyed it. There's a lot of soul in this project, and I appreciated the effort that went into this and the fact that it even saw the light of day. I mean, I'm going to listen to it again. My rating might fluctuate, but for now, I'll put it at an A. All right, so for the next one, it is Cool to Be You. This album is a decent Descendents album. The production is more 2000s pop punky, and this is also a George Bush era punk album, so there's obviously more political commentary on it. American is one of the best Descendents songs in their entire discography, but aside from that, this album just isn't memorable to me. I feel like with every Descendents album, there's something that I can pick and come back to or think about, but this project doesn't feel special really in any way. Bass work is good, especially with songs like Talking, and I think Milo's vocals and hooks are also catchy, especially with Dry Spell, but I don't remember any of the other songs from this project. Once again, I think the ballads and love songs are pushing it for guys getting close to their 40s at this point. I don't think this is a bad album, but it's pretty mundane and a little too polished for me for a Descendents album. I'm going to put this one in the B tier. I would probably put it between B and C. I think it's more in the B tier for me. Overall, it's still a decent album. Even though the production is very polished, I think it's easy to listen to, and I think it's nice to throw on as a background album. All right, so, I think it's obvious where this one was going to go. Milo Goes to College is the first Descendents album and the best Descendents album. It's also maybe one of the best skate punk albums in terms of influence and how it pioneered music even as it is today. I know a lot of the lyrics have aged poorly, but the songs are so iconic and catchy. The bass work on here is amazing. The tone on the guitars, especially songs like Bye Kids, is just great, and it has so much emotion and soul put into it. This is the perfect DIY album. Milo's vocals are some of the best on here just because they're so unfiltered and raw. I don't think there's a single bad song on this project. Yes, there are some weaker ones, but that abrasive and aggressive energy really carries the production and attitude of this project. This is one of my favorite albums of all time, and every instrument is full force on this project. I also can't believe I haven't mentioned Bill Stevenson so far in this video, but he pretty much carries the entire Descendents and especially all discography. One of the most influential hardcore and punk drummers. I think specifically on Milo Goes to College, every instrument just has its own voice. The way the drums, the bass, and the guitar work together is just so seamless. So with that being said, I'm going to put this one in the S tier. I like all the songs on this project, but the best by far are Suburban Home, Bikeage, and Myage. As a basis, this album gets a lot of love for me. So that's going to conclude my Descendents tier list. Let me know what you agreed with or disagreed with in the comments. If you have any suggestions for what I should do next or any tier list videos I should do going forward, drop that down in the comments below as well. Make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.